Hello there and welcome back to the second modding tutorial for Battlestations Pacific. Now I know that it's been a long time again since I actually managed to record a video. Unfortunately I have been busy with life stuff as I have usually been for the past month or so, but finally we are here and I am able to present you the second part of the tutorial. Now in this tutorial, basically I've had a lot of difficulties planning this one out because this one, if I do it badly or I don't do it well enough, it will end up confusing way more people than I first expected. If you thought that the first tutorial was complex and hard to understand, this one is going to be a hellhole for anyone of you that's not really good with coding and anybody that's not really gonna understand this at the start right away. So basically what I think I've come up with the easiest possible way to understand it. I have created a script for myself of what I'm going to do and everything else specifically for this tutorial. Now what we're going to cover in this tutorial, I'm going to introduce everyone to LUA, what LUA is. If some of you may already know what LUA is, and in that case this is going to be way easier for you than everybody else, but if you don't, then you're probably going to have to go through that. I'm going to show you some basic mission scripts. As I said, we're going to be going mission scripts. If you remember from the last tutorial, I said I was going to show more advanced unit commands in a following tutorial. This is going to be that tutorial right here. I'm going to show you how to do functions. I'm going to show you what the main mission functions for any missions are. I'm going to introduce you to some critical files that are going into mission planning and all of that, showing you where all these mission files are. And then instead of doing what I did with the previous tutorial, basically going into normal vanilla files and modifying them, here I'm going to show you also how to create brand new missions from scratch, because the way that the vanilla scripts are made, they are incredibly hard to understand, and I thought that, in my humble opinion, I thought that it would be easier for most of you to just start from scratch, to show you some basic unit commands that you can use, and for you to expand from there. I'm going to go into that more when we actually get going with this. Apart from that, I'm also going to show you some advanced unit commands. I made some templates for all of you guys that I'll be making available to download, so you guys will be able to do all of that. Now, as I said with the previous tutorial, there are a few things that I want to get out of the way before I actually start with this tutorial. First of all, I will be putting all the relevant links for the programs that I mentioned down in the description down below, so that I don't have, as I said in the previous tutorial, have a dedicated video for it, so I just waste time on that and waste time and energy on something that I could have simply integrated into this video. So instead of having a dedicated video to all the tools that you need, I will be putting down all the links in the description down below, so you guys can get that if you don't have it. Secondly, and perhaps the most important point I want to make throughout this entire series of videos that I'm going to be making, as I mentioned in the previous tutorial, this is all about your own experimentation. If I show you how to do something on here and you try and expand from that what I told you, which is what I want you to do, I want you to be able to create stuff on your own later on, to be able to be self-sufficient in that regard, you are going to be running into new problems, most definitely problems that you have not yet experienced, problems that a lot of other people may not have experienced, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. However, a huge part of this is experimentation. So if you don't know how to do something, don't ask for help right away. Try to solve it on your own. Look at other scripts. I will show you more of this later on when we actually get into the video itself. But go into other vanilla scripts, see if anybody has ever made something similar to you. If some of the vanilla missions have anything that you're trying to do, hit Control F, look for some relevant commands, try and do this, change some parameters, see if that works. It's all about experimentation. That's how I got around mission scripting like this, because I'm definitely not a natural. This is not something that comes natural to me, so I had to work hard to get to this point, and 90% of it I would say is just trying stuff on my own and experimenting on your own, because that is the best way you're gonna learn how to do this. Anyways, I think that's all I wanted to say for the introduction. Anyways, let's get on with the actual tutorial. Now, another thing that I have to mention real quick before we start is that for this specific example, I will be using a BS Mod HQ version 4.1 installation of the game with the LOMP, SNP, and with my mod, the complete campaign pack. As I said in the previous tutorial, any mod after BS Mod HQ version 4.0 extracts all of the game files into the directory. You don't need to use the Ripper, but in case you guys want to modify the vanilla version specifically, I will be having a section at the end of the video, as I did with the last tutorial specifically, dedicated to you guys that want to use the Ripper to modify the vanilla game, and I will be showing you guys how to use all of that. So I just gotta make sure that you guys are aware that a vanilla game will not have all of these files ready to be extracted. So if you want to modify the vanilla game, just every time you see me do something in the tutorial, make sure you skip over to the end to make sure that you know what MPAK to extract with the Ripper. Now I'm gonna start off with directly talking about what is Lua specifically. So Lua is a coding language. It is based off of C. Now I wouldn't really know what that means because I never really personally worked with C or C++, but just like JavaScript or Java, it is a coding language. And Battlestations Pacific happens to be scripted pretty much entirely in Lua. Now you can go to lua.org, which is quite a handy website, and learn all about Lua on your own if you want to start off learning about here instead of starting to learn here about Lua and then come back to this tutorial. Look, you can do that. You can read all about it, you can get news about it, you can download some documentation, some compilers, everything you're learning about Lua. You can go to lua.org and learn that. Anyways, that's that. And Lua, as I said, it's a scripting language. It's mostly used for scripting stuff like missions, which in Battlestation Pacific case it is used for that, but it is also used for a lot of other things. Now Lua is a popular coding language, especially with video games. A lot of modern today's video games are coded in Lua, such as Gary's Mod, to the Total War franchise, the Crisis franchise, and a lot of other popular games. Anyway, so where are these Lua scripts located at? So last time we went over the universe folder right here. Now this time we're going to be going over into this script folder right here. There are 3 folders in here. Data tables. It contains any kind of tables for any kind of data you can imagine. Unit statistics, any kind of statistics for like battles, basically global stuff for global units. We will be going over that file more in the next tutorial, which is basic unit modifications, but we are going to be going over one specific file into this folder a little bit later on when I show to make new missions. Global has only a few files. It is basically just global stuff, not really of our concern, not nearly in the future. And the one we're going to be spending the most time in is this one right here, missions. Now here we have, just like in the universe scenes folder, we have the different categories here. We have for the IGN for the Japanese game, and multiplayer for the multiplayer missions, training grounds for the training ground missions, and USN for the American missions. Now it is valid to point out that in this tutorial specifically I will only be showing you how to do single player missions. For multiplayer missions I will be showing that a little bit later on, or if you want to experiment on your own, you can go do that. But I will be showing you how to do specifically single player missions here. Anyways, we're going to go in one of these folders right here for the Japanese missions. So all of the Lua files for all the Japanese campaign missions, they're all here. 1 through 14 are the Japanese campaign vanilla missions. 15 through 22 are the complete campaign pack missions. If you happen to have that installed, I do, so I have them all. And ESMP is for the Empire's Strike mission pack. And likewise, it is the same for the USN ones, 1 through 14. These actually have names right here, so you can see what they are. And the 16 through 21 are the complete campaign pack missions, and the LOMP is the Long Gods mission pack, the new Long Gods mission pack DLC. Anyways, that is where they are, and I'm gonna show you now what one of them looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and open one. I'm gonna open one of mine. I'm gonna open the one from the invasion of the Aleutian Islands. So as you can see right here, it may look really confusing at the start if you're opening this for your first time, but all you're gonna do, just like with the scene files, when you open them in Notepad++, you're gonna go with a view fold all. By the way, you have to do this in Notepad++, because if you're gonna go do this in normal Notepad, it's gonna be hell for you. So again, link down in the description to download Notepad++. Free program, amazing program to use. Anyways, this is what a normal mission script would look like. I'm also gonna show you what vanilla scripts look like and some different scripts. So this is one of mine. This is specifically, if you can't read already here, invasion of the Aleutian Islands. So this is basically what a Lua script looks like. You may recognize some of this. They have functions, all just like all normal programming languages. I will show you how to use those. And it has all of the stuff like commenting in this one. That's gonna be something that I'm gonna go over right away. For Lua, any programming language out there has a way of putting comments into your code, which is basically just words that are not aren't going to be read by the game engine. So in this, for Lua and for C++, I believe as well, it is 2 dashes. So all you can see, all the green text right here, that's not being read by the program. That's just for me putting down words so I can know which part of the codes do what. Oh, these are supporting functions. These functions deal with the intro movie. These are mission enders, listeners, objective checkers. This is just me, and probably what you should do also is just put down markers everywhere. At least to make a comment, the minimum you're going to need is 2 dashes. These 2 dashes cover this entire line. So if you want to go and type in here ABC, it's all going to be green. And if you want to go further over there, ABC, it's all going to be green. It's not readable by the engine, so you can put anything down here, just for people maybe to read. If you want someone to, you know, leave some secret codes in there, so people who play your missions, you can leave that in. So dash is covering 1 line, and if you want to cover more lines than once, which I will show you how to do now, let's say you want to black out these 2 functions right here, this function, what you can do is do dash and then square bracket, and that grays out everything underneath. And then to stop the graying out, you're going to need a square bracket and square bracket in the opposite direction. So everything right here is now grayed out. So that's how you do comments. That's one of the most important parts that you're going to need to master later on if you want to get deep into mission modifying, because if you just make a bunch of functions and a bunch of code, you're not going to know where everything is. So comments, really useful thing. I have a bunch of them. I put my name up here in case you never access my missions, for my channel link in case anybody wants to see what these missions look like in action. Anyways, now I'm gonna show you what actually functions are. For those who know what functions are, basically I'm gonna go through this whole introduction thing, how to actually do coding for people that have never coded before specifically. So if that's not something you want, there are timestamps down in the description down below, and you can skip this whole introduction part. Now you can see all of these blue words. These are functions right here. Now what is a function? A function is I see it as an encapsulation of a bunch of code. So if we open up a function, if you go to view fold all, you will see all of them folded up neatly like this. You can open any function that you see by clicking the little plus button right here, and it will show you what kind of code there is in this function. So for example, one of the functions that I have right here is LUA intro movie. It is under the intro movie section that I put in right here, and if we open it right here, you will see that it is some of you may recognize it, most of you probably don't, but that's fine. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it is a function that starts the intro movie, in this case for the invasion of the Aleutian Islands, the Mutsu that's being shown at the start. Anyways, you can give it any name you want. You can create your own functions, of course. That's I will show you how to do a little bit later on. But basically, you can call a function to execute the code in it. So LUA intro movie, in order to execute the code that's inside of a function, specifically in this case LUA intro movie, I need to call a function. And I call it, of course, any function needs to be called. I will show you more specifically how some of these are called, because some of these are called by the game engine themselves when it's being loaded, so you don't need to call it. But specifically, Notepad++ has a really handy feature. If you double click a word, it will highlight it in green, and then any other word that has that specific name, it'll be highlighted in green as well. Now I happen to know that it's right here. I call it right here in the beginning of this function. So basically here I have, if the mission is started, then I do nothing. But if the mission is not started, then mission started equals true, and then I call the function intro movie. So that means it's only being called once at the beginning of the code. But I will go more into the specific details. I'm just showing you how functions work. Now you call functions, and the way you call functions is just, if I want to call it right here, I would just go LUA intro movie and then 2 parentheses. Make sure you at least have 2 parentheses at the end of each function. If you're making a function, if you're calling a function, the least you're going to need to have is 2 parentheses, because that tells the engine that that's a function. So now I call the function right here, and then the engine is gonna go through this code, go sort through it, and it'll see, oh, you're calling a function right here. I'm gonna go to function LUA intro movie with that name, and I'm gonna execute all the code that is in it, and it'll execute that, and it will keep going. As you can see, I'm calling the next function in line right here. I have the second movie, then the third function right here, and then so on, so on, so on. all the way up until I don't reach the last function right here, and which calls, yeah, another function that keeps going. But that's basically how it works. Any programming language has functions, and they function in a really similar way. They just, different programming languages just have a different way of defining functions or having different names for it, but that's fine. So that is what functions are. Now I'm going to show you, I'm not going to start off with creating new missions just yet. I'm going to show you what some of the main mission functions are for any mission you will see out there. So let's start off at the top with pre-cache. So I just put in a handy title right there, but it'll probably be called like LUA pre-cache units or something like that. So this function does not need to be called, it is called inherently by the engine itself. Basically all it does is just prepare a bunch of classes right here. You see, I will show you more about this command later on, but basically all it does is prepare different classes to be spawned during the mission. You can see I put in a bunch of comments right next to it, and these numbers right here, these are class numbers. I will go more into what these mean specifically later on, but now right now I'm just showing you what some of these basic functions are. These three are what I commonly refer to as the inits. I recently use this word a lot, init. Init is a short word for initialization. It is any function that is called once at the start, and then it is not called again throughout the mission. These three are just basically, you don't really need to know what these are. I'm going to show you, of course, more what these mean later on, but they're just basically initializing the mission, getting it ready to be played. And then this right here is, there are two most important functions to any mission right here. One of them is right here, LUA init. It is the main initialization function. It is basically everything that you need to be put at the start of the mission that needs to be called only once at the start. You put it all in right here. It is called at the start, and it is not called again. So stuff like unique grouping, I will show you, of course, as I said, more of this later on, but you're basically declaring what different ships are here. You're calling some initial functions, like maybe if you have a function, this is what they often do. For defending Midway, I have a function that moves the Japanese aircraft carriers randomly. I do this for North Cape too, as well, for the Sharkhost map. The convoy in North Cape, I have a function that moves the convoy randomly, depending. I choose a random number between 1 and 3, and I make the engine choose, rather should I say, I make the engine choose a random number between 1 and 3, and based on what number it chooses, it moves the convoy randomly. So every single time you play the mission, it creates for a different, more exciting atmosphere. So that's something that I'm going to be showing you later on when I start making new missions, but that's an example of what you would put into an init right here. I have a bunch of functions that I call right here, like some listeners and stuff like that. Not really relevant right now, but the second most important function in any mission is this think right here. I have it usually as think right here. LUA think, I usually have it defined as LUA think, and it is a function as opposed to LUA init, to any initialization function. As the word may suggest, think, LUA think makes the mission think, so it is called constantly. Every few times in a second, LUA think is being called by the game engine. So anything that needs to be run constantly, so if you're checking for objectives being completed, if you're checking if a certain unit has died, if you're checking that the player has reached a certain number of score, anything that needs to be constantly checked. And you can see I have a bunch of if statements right here. Not sure if any of you know what any of this is. I've showed you this before. Basically, I'm just checking at the start of the mission. I could put this technically in the in script, but I'm just putting it here because, and that's how I've been doing it. Basically, I'm just checking if the mission is started, and if it's not started, then I play an intro movie. Stuff like that is what gets put in the LUA think. Anyways, you don't need to know what any of these specific things mean yet. I'm just showing you how things look, and how these scripts look, so you can get, over time more familiarized with that. So that is basically what some of the most important functions are. I have a bunch of functions right here. I usually have a bunch of preset functions to work with, but that's basically in a gist, in as simple terms as I can explain what functions are and how they work. Now I'm gonna quickly right now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys the reason why I'm not gonna have you do what I did in the previous tutorial and basically modify previous functions, because most of you guys that I'm expecting that most of you guys who have not coded yet, or some of you guys that know Lua also may be completely clueless at this point, because that's simply the nature of how coding is. You have to get familiarized with the code, and if you just went in and modified a bunch of stuff, I guess that could work for some people, but in my experience it's just very confusing. So let me just pull up a vanilla a script for a vanilla mission, for example, if you're interested in modifying that. So right off the bat, I pull up the script for the Battle of the Santa Cruz, the American vanilla Santa Cruz battle. And as you can see right here, this is one of the missions that I originally modded when I started modding, that I tried to mod. But as you can see right here, if you go to view fold all, you can see it is quite a mess. It has like at least 50 functions. It is completely ununderstandable. I have no clue what most of these dev made missions. I guess the devs were really good at scripting, so they did need to have any organization. I'm not really good at scripting, so I have to have it nicely organized so I know where everything is. But as you can see right here, these can be incredibly difficult to get into it. They're very messy, and especially if you go to unfold all, if you just want to read the functions like that, you can see right here, if you would have just started modifying these on your own, and I just showed you what this and this is, now go do whatever you want, this would not turn out well right here. This is just a complete mess of things. I still have a very hard time deciphering what's happening. The functions are not really called. You can see the names of the functions aren't really exactly descriptive. Most times they just have a bunch of moving functions. They just call a lot of functions at the same time. They all work, don't get me wrong. These missions, vanilla missions, the reason they're vanilla missions is because they work perfectly, but the code is just completely messy and really hard to understand. So instead of me going through all of these vanilla codes, what I'm going to be doing instead is starting from scratch. I'm going to show you, I'm going to basically hit two birds with one stone. In one tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create new missions, and I'm going to show you how to use Lua alongside me creating new mission. I'm going to create a new mission for you guys so you can see how all that works, and I'm going to show you how to I'm going to mostly show you guys how to use Lua. I'm going to make it as simple for you as you can, because in my opinion, you need to start simple. Have a single unit, have it move across the map, do this and this, have a few enemy units so you can fight them, and then only after you master the basics, then later on you can start modifying these missions right here and seeing what's going on, and then it'll be easier for you to understand. Having said that, we're gonna move over to the next part of the tutorial, which is showing you how to basically create new missions. Right, so I'm gonna jump straight into actually showing you where all of these missions are defined, and showing you how to actually create a new mission slot for you. So I'm also going to be dealing a little bit with a scene file. So if you watched the previous tutorial, that is why I said you should go watch the previous tutorials in case you haven't, because right here I'm also going to be showing you how to do some things in the scene file, adding on top of the previous tutorial. So first of all, what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be showing you one very important file with any kind of mission modding that you're going to be doing, especially when adding new missions, is we're going to be going into scripts, and then we're going to be going into data tables. It's the one file I said I'm going to show you in data tables, so ignore all of these files except for one for right now, and that specific file is a missiontree.lua. Right here, you're going to be opening that in Notepad++. You don't need to go to language Lua as with all these other scripts, because when you open a Lua file by itself, Notepad++ should already recognize that it's Lua, so you don't need to do the language. All you need to do is go to view, fold all. Then you're gonna see right here just only one entry, mission tree, and you're gonna open mission groups, and you're gonna see these three categories. Now the first category is for the training grounds mission. We're not gonna be messing with that for now on, but you can on your own, of course. And the last one is for the USN campaign, and the middle one is for the IGN campaign, as you can see by these names right here. Not too much you're gonna be messing with that, but if you expand these right here, that is where most of our modding in this case is gonna be. These entries right here are what you see in the main menu of the game when you pull up the game. So if you expand any of these, you're going to be seeing these are all of the missions in sequence. So we have IJN01 right here, which is Pearl Harbor, IJN02, which is Force Z, Java C, IJN04, which is Saving the Show, Invasion of Port Moresby. Here's one of my complete campaign pack missions. You can recognize because it has normal text, Wolf Pack, is here, IJN06, which is Hunt for the USS Hornet, Invasion of Midway, Savo Island, and so on. Same thing for the American campaign here. Here's my new campaign pack missions. Coral Seas here, Defending Midway is here, and they are of course in the order from top to bottom, in the same order you would see them in the campaign menu. Now, all of the mission characteristics are listed here. These are all very important, all of these characteristics that you will see, because they are stuff like text that shows up when you load the mission, afterward, like what prerequisites you have to have unlocked to unlock that mission, where is it pointing on the physical map when you look at the map of the Pacific Ocean, the date of the mission that shows up, what unlockables you're going to be able to use. These are all listed in these characteristics of the mission right here. Without going too much into detail of what all these mean, we're gonna start off with copying one of these entries by in order to create our new mission. So I was thinking of a good mission that we could specifically recreate, and I'm just gonna I didn't really want to recreate any specific mission. I'm just gonna create a test mission. What you can do is you can create your own missions. I know one of my testers over at Wolfpack wants to create Sundust Strait, Battle of Sundust Strait. That one hasn't been seen in Battlestation Pacific before, so you can go ahead and do that. But right now I'm just gonna copy the whole entry. Make sure it's from the first parenthesis to the second parenthesis. Make sure you copy that. I'm just gonna copy the entry for Pearl Harbor and paste it right underneath. Now make sure you're pasted right in the empty space right here. Make sure that it's right under, make sure you press enter and it's in the empty space. So therefore you copy it. Make sure you periodically save so you don't lose your progress either. You're going to give it a unique mission ID. So I'm just going to call it IJN I'm just going to call it IJN, not 20, IJN 25, yeah, that's the one that has been used. I'm just going to call it IJN25. It's just a test mission. You must give it a unique name, and unique ID, an ID that hasn't been used by any mission before. And for the name, I'm just going to replace it with a test. This is the name that's going to show up in the actual game when we look at it. Helpline, I'm just going to replace this with test as well. Yeah, so helpline is what shows up right underneath the mission picture, like the combat you're gonna see. I'm gonna show you exactly where all of these are. Background is the text that appears when you're looking at the mission video and reading the mission description. That is what the background is. The background voice, we are not going to be using any voices. You can use a voice from a pre-existing mission if you want to reuse the text as well. You can, I don't specifically know as of the recording of this video how to import voice files of dialogue, so I usually just leave this blank. You can leave it blank right here so nothing will play. The video now, the background video, I know how to import videos into Battlestation Pacific. I can show you that in a separate tutorial, how to import movies into Battlestation Pacific. Although I don't really find the point of it because they are usually very big files, and if you import them, they will. And if you want to make a mod out of it, like I did, I was originally going to have a bunch of new menu videos for the new missions for complete campaign pack, but I ended up scratching the concept because the files are so big. The installer would have been over 4 gigabytes big, and I don't want that, so I just reuse some of the existing ones. I'm just gonna, for the shits and giggles, I'm just gonna reuse the one from Port Moresby at JN5. You can put anyone you want. And the debriefing text is the text that appears when you complete the mission, and it shows basically when you complete the mission. It not when you fail the mission, because when you fail the mission you're brought to the game over screen, which doesn't have any text. But the debriefing text is the text that shows up at the end screen when you beat the mission. So I'm just gonna replace this with test as well, just to make sure, just to show you guys. Debriefing voice is the voice dialogue sound file that plays on the mission. Usually it's the narrator for the ending, but of course we're not gonna have anything, so I'm just gonna leave it blank. And this is the most important one right here. Scene file. This points to the exact scene file for the mission that you're going to be using. So you can see this one, since we copied it from Pearl Harbor, it is pointing to IJN1 attack on Pearl Harbor. So what we're going to do instead, when I said we're going to be messing with scene files, you can see right now that we are. With these missions right here, make sure you always copy at least the SCN and the nav file. Nav files are, I'm not sure if I went over that in the previous tutorial, but I'm very quickly going to just tell you what they are. Nav files are basically tell you tell the game specific data about the terrain. I'm not really sure what is in there, but I just usually just copy it from the different missions that I have. So in this case, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna copy Cape Esperance's one, simply because it's a new mission and it's easier for me to do that. So just go control copy, control paste, and in this case I'm just gonna rename them all to, I'm just gonna call them test, so I can show you guys that it's a test mission. You can rename it to whatever you want, and make sure you just have the same name in the data tables folder. So one really important thing that I have to really quickly go over on is that for any new mission that you have, you're gonna need to have an EMA file. Now I'm gonna leave a link in the description in case you don't have any EMA files, because I only have them with my complete campaign maps right here. As you can see, they're all 1 kilobyte. They are empty, and they have to be empty. They just have to have this animation thing, and that's it, because these files are dealing with the intro scenes for the vanilla missions. So you know how, I don't know if you guys know this, but the vanilla missions have different intros than, say, my missions, because I don't know how to, I mean I know, but I just find it way easier to do intros in the actual script itself, which is something I'm going to show you. Basically, if you want to make a new mission, I suggest leaving this as a 1 kilobyte file and then doing the intro in the mission. So all you have to do, the point is, you don't really need to understand what this does, but all you gotta do is have an EMF file with the same name as your SCN file, and have a nav file with the same name as your SCN file, and have the EMF file as a 1 kilobyte, and you can copy the nav file from whatever. So that's the SCN file. I'm gonna open it real quick. If you watched the previous tutorial, you know what this is. Again, if you haven't, I highly suggest going over and watching it, because otherwise you're gonna be left completely clueless. Anyways, I'm going to be putting that one all the way up there, as well as mission tree. Anyways, so this is just test SCN. I'm gonna delete everything from it, because I don't necessarily need all of these things right now. I'm gonna leave one ship in so I can show you guys then later on. I'll just add the ship so I can have it as a testing. So this is the I copied the SCN file from the Battle of Cape Esperance, and this is the AUBA from the Cape Esperance. Not really relevant right now, but just telling you that. So make sure right here, as I said, to rename the SCN file to test SCN, so it's calling the correct SCN file. Now that you've done that, you can change the date if you want. It goes year, month, day. So if you want to do, just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna do it to today's date, which is 2020 January 11th. I don't know why, but I could. So that's all. You make sure you don't put a bigger number here, because then the mission will crash. Pause. That's the position on the physical map of the Pacific Ocean when you load the game, and I will show you what exactly that means. Prerequisite: this basically tells the mission after or what specific mission needs to be beat in order to have this mission unlocked. Now this is blank because I copied it over from Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor doesn't have any prerequisite because it's the first mission. But if we're going to look at, I don't know, Striking Force Z, for example, you see prerequisite, it has IJN01. That's where that ID comes in. It's referring to IJN01 because you need to beat IJN1 in order to unlock this. So I'm gonna copy the prerequisite over right here. You don't need to do this. I suggest actually leaving it blank for most, but just for testing purposes, I'm gonna copy over this to IJN01. So we need to have Pearl Harbor beaten in order to unlock this mission. Description: don't touch this. I have no clue why the devs included this. This has no bearing to anything whatsoever. Some kind of mission, I have no clue what that means. But the point is, leave this as it is for every mission you make. Naval Academy. Naval Academy basically lists all Naval Academy videos for that mission that are going to be available. So I don't personally mess with these. I never really watched the Naval Academy videos. Maybe some of you do. In that case, think about what the mission is going to have, and then look at any other mission that has that stuff in it. So if you want a big fleet operation, then for my invasion of the Aleutians, perhaps you want to copy these videos. I know these deal with landing operations and stuff like that. Excuse me. So just make sure you copy that over. Now that's it for Naval Academy, nothing really special. Now picture, that is the mission image that's going to display in the main menu. Now I have IJN01 right here, so that because I copied it from Pearl Harbor. You can import your own images, and I will show you that a little bit later on. But for now, I'm just gonna reuse the one from IJN01, and then I'm gonna change it later on. Force difficulty level, don't touch that. It doesn't have any bearing to anything whatsoever. Movie name is something you're only gonna see with Pearl Harbor, Eastern Solomons, Invasion of Okinawa, and Invasion of Hawaii, because these are the movies that play right before or right after a mission. In this case, right before. So that's the Japanese intro movie, the one with the sailor going around to the Yamato. I don't really remember what is in it. It's been a while since I watched it. But basically, movie name, you can remove this if you don't want any movie playing in front of your mission. You can just remove this. It's fine, like that. Now, this right here, this whole section right here, this first section, I guess this too, but for some reason, as you can see, this has been commented out, so this doesn't have anything to do with anything. If you have this in your mission thing, you can just leave it. It doesn't really have anything. And by the way, one thing, as you can see, devs left all kinds of comments all around the code. These are in Hungarian, of course, because the devs were all Hungarian. I have no clue what they mean. You can translate them if you want, but usually they don't lead to anything. They're just saying, you know, relevant or random things about the code that aren't really of use to you. Just listen to what I'm saying, that's the point. Don't listen to these comments, just listen to what I'm saying. Anyways, if you're doing a Japanese mission, then make sure this says Japanese. If you're doing an allied mission, then you just make sure it has says allied right here. Briefing GUI layer. Now, all of this code right here relates to what is the briefing that you're gonna see when you load into the mission. So the first objective that you're gonna see in the briefing room, all of that is relevant for this part of the code right here. So I have IJN1. I'm gonna change this just for testing purposes. I'm gonna change it to the one for midway, so you're gonna see basically what I'm talking about. It may be confusing when I'm explaining you to like this, but I'm gonna show it to you. So you primary objective, you can replace this with anything you want. I'm just gonna replace it with a test primary 1, test secondary 1. As you can see right here, the devs plan to have a bunch of other objectives right here, but apparently it got scrapped during development. I have no idea why. You can delete this if it's too cluttered for you. There's no problem with that. You can leave it in, do whatever you want with commented codes. Hidden objectives, I'm just gonna say test hidden 1, and the hints, I'm just also gonna say test right here. And these are the hints for the hidden objective. If it's not unlocked, it'll tell you that. And these are all the loading hints. Loading hint text, I'm just gonna call it test L1 and then test L2 and L3, just so you guys see that these are actually different things. You guys can put whatever you guys want with them, something that's relatable to the mission that you're making. And this last section right here of the mission, in the mission tree section, these deal with the types of unlocks that you're gonna see. Now this all needs to be in synchronization, because if you put a unit here and you don't put it down there, well, not in this case, but if you put a unit here and then don't put the according value there, the mission will crash. So just make sure that you follow what I'm about to say to you. So all units ID is basically allows you to list the class numbers of all the units that are going to be present into the mission now. When I was going over the script for when I was showing you the script for the Aleutian Islands a few minutes ago, I mentioned in there that I showed you that when you pre-cache units, they all have a certain number now. I'm gonna go more into this with the next tutorial, which is basic unit modifications. But basically how it works in Battlestation Pacific is all units, all classes, any airplane, any ship, any vehicle, any building, they all have a class number, and you can refer to that specific class number to refer to that unit. You can very handily find this number for any unit you want, and by going into a specific file in the universe folder and then library, and then opening this global.enums file with notepad++. This is just a list of all the units in the game and their specific class number. So if in your mission you wanna have the Congo class, for example, I'm making a Japanese mission, so I'm gonna have the Congo class, let's say. So I'll look up Congo right here with the find thing, Control F. If you can Control F on your keyboard, it'll bring up this Congo, and I see it's class number 60. So I take 60 and I place it in here. Let's say I only want to have one Congo, so I would do this. And let's say I want to have 3 Congo classes in my mission, I put 3 there. And let's say I want this Congo to be able to be changed by an unlock, I'm going to put 60 here. If I don't want the Congo to be changeable by an unlock, if I want it to be a designated unit, I would leave this blank in this case right here, or I would just remove it for the type of class I want. So let's say I want to have the Congo, but let's say I also want to have the Mogami class. So I would put a comma here, and I would go into global.enums. I would go search Mogami. Mogami is number 67 in this case. I would go, make sure you have quotation marks. Make sure you always have quotation marks with these things. I would go 67. Let's say I want to have 2 Mogami classes. That's fine, 2 Mogami classes. But let's say I don't want the Mogami classes to be changeable. I would not add them here. But let's say I do want it to be changeable. I go 67. And make sure they are in the order as they are up there. So if you put 67 in front of 60, that won't work, the mission will crash. And make sure you have exact commas, exact quotation marks. Anything wrong there, you will fail the mission. Let's say I want to not have the Congos unlockable, only the Mogamis. You can have it like that by using this. And you know, this is just an example. If I want to make sure that I know what these classes are, I can go comment lines and then type in Congo Mogami. So later on, if I want to change them, I know what each of them are. And then Mogami. This is just for me. This is just me making examples for you, so you can do this on your own. This again, commenting doesn't really do anything for the game engine. It just tells you, the coder, that you have these classes right here. That's it for the for these mission things right here. Don't touch anything else apart from that for now. You can mess with these values in here, but don't mess up the actual code itself. Anyways, that's pretty much it for that part right here. That is how missiontree.lua works. It is an incredibly important file. It shows any of these missions that you will see. But without further ado, let's actually go into Battlestations Pacific and see this new mission that we have created right now. Now, we won't be able to play the mission because we haven't set up the SCN file yet, but I will just show you guys that we can actually load into this mission. And there we go, we are in the main menu. So if we go over to the Japanese campaign right now and go all the way to the start, you can see right here we have the test mission right here. Yeah, attack on Pearl Harbor and then followed by test. We have you see January 11, 2020. It says test right here. We have test text, and I'm using the same video that Invasion of Port Moresby uses, and you can see this is what I was referring to with the briefing layer. As I said, this is what it's going to show up to. This is where all of the test objectives are, and as you can see right here, I have the designated unit as Congo, and I have the Mogami class upgradable. I can change it to whatever I want. Now that's it. If we go ahead and try to start a mission now, it'll crash because we haven't set up the scene file appropriately. But this is basically just proof that you can see that we have actually been able to create the mission. So without further ado, let's actually get into creating the actual mission itself. Now, one other very important thing that I need to mention before actually getting your mission to work properly, your new missions, that you need to do this for every single new mission that you do. If you're modding existing missions, you don't need to do this. But basically, if you want to know the nitty-gritty about this small step, 4.0, as I said before, extracts all the files to the game directly from the MPAKs, so you don't need to open up and pack up all of the MPAKs that you're modifying. You can just modify the game straight from the root directory. However, you still need to have at least a blank MPAK for the mission, referencing the mission in the MPAK folder, because otherwise the game freaks out and you crash the mission. You can't even load into the mission. So you don't need to know why this happens, but all you have to do, it's very simple. You need to go into the MPAK folder for Battlestations Pacific, go into scenes, and you're gonna need to copy the MPAKs, a few specific MPAKs from already existing missions. Now, of course, these are all, you can see these are all 1 kilobyte, these are all blank because they're all hollowed out. They just need to be there, they don't need to be filled with anything. A really good way to do this, if you look up existing missions, for example IGN 20, which is my North Cape map. If you have a complete campaign pack installed, I did this for all of my missions, so it's really easy to do this. For example, IGN 20, you copy these 4 files, these MPAKs right here, you go back into the folder and you just paste them right here. Now you can look up IGN 20 again, so you can get these copied MPAKs. It'll be whatever the original name is, -copy. We will be renaming all of these accordingly. So how you know what you're going to rename it to? Well, you're going to go into your mission tree file, sorry, and you're going to look whatever ID you set to it. That's the correct naming that you're going to be giving it to. So IGN 25, remember that. So make sure you have 0 IGN and then remove the copy part, and then just change this to IGN 25. Do the same thing for the rest of the copied files. Make sure you leave solo over here for these remaining MPAKs right here, because these will be the game will crash without them. I know they are blank, but regardless, you gotta do this step because otherwise the game freaks out for some reason and they can't find these, and if it doesn't find these MPAKs, it won't be able to, you know, function. So let's just make sure that we didn't leave any of them out, and now we have a few brand new Agent 25 solo MPAKs. And there you go. You gotta do this for any single mission you make. Whatever ID again you set to it right here in the mission tree file, you gotta make sure you have that one set to it. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the actual creating process of a new mission. So we are going to be creating a Japanese mission, just a basic test mission. So I'm going to go ahead and open up test.scn. We have it open right here actually. So as I said, the SCN file reroutes to the LUA file. So make sure that the first thing you do right here is to make sure to reroute this so it doesn't point to JM22, instead it points to test, which we are going to be creating as our new script file. Now, something that I created that hopefully will help a lot of people is actually not this one, but this template right here. It is a template for a blank mission script, so that you don't have to, if you want to copy an existing mission script, you don't need to do that, because you're gonna have to erase a lot of stuff, you're gonna have to reroute a lot of stuff. Instead, I'm gonna have this available to download alongside another template, which I'm gonna show you soon, but this one I have the available to download on my website hopefully. And it is a blank template for a blank mission script. It has all the basic stuff that I outlined before, alongside some nice support functions that you will find actually quite helpful when you start designing your mission. I will go more about this. I will explain specifically what this is a little bit later on, but for now what we'll do is we will go into the script folder, missions IJN. I'm just gonna do it here. I'm just gonna copy any script right now. I'm gonna copy the JM22 one just because it's right here. Oops, the wrong button. I'm gonna rename it to the correct name, which is test.lua. I'm gonna go ahead and open it in Notepad++. I'm gonna bring it over here. I like having the SCN file followed by the LUA file right away when I'm modding any mission. So right now you can see it is the script file for my Battle of Cape Esperance mission from Complete Campaign Pack. Instead, what you're gonna do is Control A to copy your blank mission script from the template, Control A to select the whole script, and Control V to copy that exact same template over again. And now that one is replaced by the blank LUA script, and the SCN only has one ship in it, the Aoba, and it has the same weather as Cape Esperance. We're going to be changing that soon, of course. So I'm just going to call this test. It is a test entity. I'm just going to rename it to test in the GUI as well, and let's change it to a Congo class like we originally intended to. It's going to be just a simple Congo class battleship. I gotta make sure to have the correct naming right here. You'll know what I'm doing here if you've seen the first part of the tutorial. If you haven't, then make sure you go watch that. I'm gonna place it in the middle of the map, 0, 0, and the facing values I'll correct that later. And apart from that, everything is good to go. Now, the SCN is good to go, however the LUA script is not good to go yet. So basically, in Battlestation Pacific, as I'm going to show you later on, any mission starts off completely blacked out. So what we're going to have to insert right here is, you can see I put in a script, insert script body here, or script body goes here. We're going to need to implement some kind of a mission intro. You don't need to have a mission intro per se, but you need to have a function that allows you to get into the mission specifically, to select that single unit. So I'm going to show you what specific command I'm going to use here, but I'm still in progress of working this. I started working on this yesterday and it's still not done yet, but I have created this another template right here, command helpers. Hopefully by the time I finish this video, this one is going to be including as many commands as I can find. Basically what I did with this template right here, with this helper, it's not really a template, it's a helper. It contains as many commands that you're gonna be using with scripting as I can find. Now of course this is not done yet. I'm constantly updating this. I just actually remembered a few commands that I could have put in here, but I'm gonna put them all in here so that you guys can see them all, and I put nice description for each one of the commands, saying what each one of them does and what the parameters are for each one of them. So hopefully I made correct categories. I have basic commands, I have move commands, offensive commands, and then defensive commands for units, and I have usage right here, how to use it, how to use this command helper. But basically, hopefully this is going to be able to help out you guys. I'm going to update it, of course, even after this tutorial goes up, to be able to help you guys with that stuff. Anyways, what we're going to do right now is I don't need this template per se. You can close that because we have our main mission script right here. So for now we have one unit in the mission, which is called test. It is a Congo. Of course, we're playing as the Japanese. Now, one thing that I'm gonna go in line here, making sure that you all know what you're doing when you're loading into the mission. So we're starting with pre-cache units. We don't need to pre-cache any units right now. You can leave this blank, but just for testing purposes, I'm gonna pre-cache the Congo just because we have it. Pre-caching, you only need to prepare classes when or you're gonna be spawning like aircraft, and you're gonna be spawning stuff. Then you need to prepare a class. If you spawn them from the SCN, then you don't need this. So just for testing purposes, I'm gonna have the Mogami spawn in later, so I don't need to duplicate them. I'm gonna pre-cache the Mogami instead. The Mogami is class number 57. Again, these all refer to the class numbers in global.enums. So there we go. I just put in a comment line to make sure that I know that's the Mogami. I can close that. I don't need that. The engine movie initialization basically just sets the initial music type that we have. Now, music is another thing that I need to go over. I went over this in the first modding tutorial, but you can set your own music for the mission. They're set in the SCN here. If you go music, we're gonna be party 01. That's the Japanese one, and I'm gonna go make sure that we are completely ready. Tension, you can see right here that we have the correct music tracks available. So that's that. So basically all this means is this command right here sets the level of the music to tension, so it's gonna play a tension track when the mission starts. This, you don't have to look at this. This is just telling the game to start up the mission. Now, one thing that you're gonna that you're gonna realize with my template and all that is that anything with asterisks near and at the start and at the end of the name, that's what you're gonna need to change. So with all of these templates right here, if you wanna use any of these functions, or a command, let's say I wanna copy over and use this command right here, which will remove deaths from table, just removes any dead entity from a table. I'm gonna get into tables later, but basically how you're gonna use this is you're just gonna replace this whole thing with your actual table name. You're not gonna leave in the asterisks. Asterisks just tells you that you're changing this. But basically that's all that means. So over here you can see I have an asterisk over script path, and in this case this value just points to a script file. Whenever you start up a new script, you don't really need to know exactly what this does, but the point is all you're gonna need to do is just copy the exact path. So you're gonna go IJN, because we're modifying it on IJN file, and then dash, and this is test.lua. And that's all I need to know. And then mission number, since this is a test mission, we decided it would be 25, so just make sure it's 25 over here, or JM25 as we declared before in the mission tree file. You can have this as your own custom number. And this is a really important part, party, and this is the playing party, the party that you are playing as when playing this mission. Now, since we're gonna be playing as the Japanese, make sure you change this to party Japanese. If you're playing as the US, you would change this to, you wouldn't have this as party Japanese, you would have this as party allied. Some of you may be making allied missions, but I'm gonna be making Japanese ones, so party Japanese. It needs to be spelled exactly or it will break the entire mission. These two lines just basically tell the mission to set the music at tension. You can put this calm, action, whatever you want. Set device reload available. I have this listed in the command helper right now. As you can see right here, you set it to either true or false. I had set it to true here, and this is basically tells the game engine whether for that specific mission they're gonna have aircraft reload payloads mid-air. So you know how in Battlestations Midway all the aircraft had to land prior to reloading their payloads. If you want to have that system, you just put false here, and then it would make that go away. And if you put true, then it's gonna be the Battlestation Pacific Classic system. Difficulties, I suggest leaving this as it is. You can change this if you want to. This is my preferred way of doing it. All of my custom made missions have this. I'm just basically putting this is basically a variable. I don't know if you guys know what a variable is. I'll explain that a little bit later on, but tell you what, just leave this blank for now. I will come back to this later. As you can see, I have comments right here to tell you what everything exactly is. These are objectives. Now, these are important right here. You're going to be using these a lot throughout the mission. These are your primary, secondary, hidden objectives that show up during the mission. They are, these are not directly tied to whatever you put in the missiontree.lua, so these are not going to display these right here are not gonna display what's in here, so you have to change these accordingly. So an ID is just anything that identifies the objective. You can leave this as it is, honestly. The ID doesn't really matter, you won't really use that, but the important parts are text. So I'm gonna leave this blank for now, and I'm gonna show you exactly what part exactly is. So text right here, in between the quotation marks, you're gonna put whatever your objective is. So if it's to sink a ship, you're gonna type in here sink X ship. That's what's going to display on the mission, and the text completed with what text is displayed when the objective is completed. If you want to say nothing, then just leave this blank. But if you want to say, you know, I'm just an example, ship X is sunk, then that'll display when the ship is sunk. I'm going to leave that as it is, and I'm going to show you later on. And same thing for the rest here. You have the hidden objectives and the secondary objectives. Now dialogues, I'm gonna get into dialogues later. I'm gonna skip that for now because that's very complicated, and that I will explain to you right now. Dialogues are just the dialogues that the characters talk like during the mission. You can start main init code here, and that's where the rest of your initialization code will go. I will go over that a little bit later on. And values and variables. So now is a good time to go over what variables are and how you declare variables. In code, in any programming language, you could declare a variable. I don't know if you guys know what variables are. Some of you may have prior coding experience, but basically I put it in command helpers as well. I put it under individual entities and variables. You can declare two types of variables, and then you can use those variables to make your code run in a certain way. So global variables are what you can call throughout the whole. So let's say an example, mission.mission phase equals 0. Here all I'm doing is I am giving a name to this variable, mission.mission phase. I often use mission phase to track the different phases of the mission. In phase 0 is the intro phase, the phase 1 is the first phase of the mission where you have something happen, and then the next phase you have something else happen. This is just an example of a variable. This is, usually I use something alongside mission phase. But basically, at the start of the mission, I am declaring that mission.mission phase is 0. Now, why do I have mission dot at the start? That's the Battlestation Pacific way of declaring a global variable. So, mission dot. If I put mission dot in front and I say it's 0, that means I can call it in any other function over here. If I wanna, for example, if I make a new function down here, let's say I have LUA think. This is a perfect example. In LUA think, again, think is the function that's called every few seconds, so it's called constantly. I say if the mission phase is 1, then do this, this, and this. If the mission phase is 2, then do this and this and this. And also if mission phase is 3, then do this and this and this. And that's just an example. I will be updating these, of course, as long as the mission is flowing. So a good example, tying in with the objectives up here. If objective number 1 is completed, then move on to mission phase 2. If objective 2 is completed, then move on to mission phase 3. And if that objective is completed, then complete the mission. I will show you, of course, specifically how to do this. I will, of course, make this just a very simple mission so you guys can see how to create one from start to finish. Hopefully I'm making sense. I know this is getting pretty complicated, but it'll start to tie up at the end, all of that. So basically all you have to know here is if you go mission.mission phase instead, well, if you do mission.mission phase and you declare a variable, you are going to be able to call that variable and refer to that variable throughout the tech code. Instead, the opposite of that is if you want to create a local variable that's only going to be able to be called inside of this function right here. I put it in the command helper. All you got to do is go local and then the name of that variable and then blah blah blah. So if you want to go local variable, this is just the name. You can put any name in here. I can put ABC. Oh, sorry, click the whole line. You can do ABC, hi, whatever you want to do. A variable can be called any name you want. So local. Let's say you want to go local phase equals, and then you can put a 0 in here. You can put true. You can put false. If you want to have phase be the same value as mission phase, you can do phase equals mission phase. Mission.mission phase. You can refer to other variables, so you can set those values as well. You can have phase be a ship if you want to have a variable with a ship. So let's do this, not phase, this is a ship. Then you can use a command called find entity. I have it over here somewhere. I must have it. I guess I must have not put it in there already. Well, I'm gonna put it in there, but the command to find an entity from the SCN is find entity, and then in this case our Congo is called test. That, and there you go. Now ship is referring directly to the Congo that we have in the mission. It's just an example, not really anything you have to worry about exactly right now. Anything, anyways, that's it for that thing right here. Now, as I said, backtracking, I went on a long tangent there, but in order to get the mission working, to get into the mission, you're gonna need something alongside an intro movie. Now, I don't have that in the commands helper yet, so I'm gonna have to use another mission right here. So if, as I said, experimentation, you need to go and look into other missions, see if they did something like that. So my missions are very organized. I recommend going into my missions often to see what I have. So let's look for a mission that has a very simple movie intro, so I can show you how that works. I think JM22, which is Cape Esperance, something like that. So I have all the intro movies right here. Yeah, this is quite a simple this is a very simple intro mission command. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna copy this is probably what you should be doing as well. If you want to go into the exact same mission I did, that's fine. You're gonna copy these three functions right here. You're gonna go function LUA intro movie, LUA intro text, LUA intro movie end. This is usually my preferred setup, and if you want, you can create a new category right here. I'm just gonna make sure that I know this is intro movie. I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna paste that right here. Now now I have these three functions right here. These, however, these LUA in-game movie is the in-game movies that you see. I'm going to show you exactly how that works right now. So all you have to know for this is I'm going to remove this because we don't have dialogues yet, but I'm going to call this function. So I'm going to go in the LUA thing that I have for the template. If you go and open this, if not mission started, you're going to see you have this code right here. I have commented out this line, LUA intro movie, because I'm assuming a lot of you guys are going to have a preset intro movie. You're going to want to do this. So all you have to do to enable this caller right here is just to remove the two lines in front of it. And now every single time the game goes through the thing, the engine goes line by line, and it goes, if not mission started, if the mission has not started, then it goes mission started is true, so that the mission is started. It changes that to true, so this isn't called again, but it calls LUA intro movie. And then it continues going. So this is never called again, so the intro movie only plays at the start of the mission. That's basically how that works. You're gonna get to grips of this. If you are confused right now, that's probably how you should be, but just keep watching, and the more you watch how you're doing this, the more you do it yourself, the more you're gonna get to grips with it. So this function right here calls for a intro movie. This is basically what intro movies look like. So basically all this is it's gonna make the same intro movie as in the Cape Esperance map. Not really much you have to do except for changing the target right here. You're gonna go find entity, and then you're gonna type in the exact name of the SCN as your target ship that wants to be the focus of the movie. So I'm gonna replace the outbound with test. And then distance basically tells the movie how far away you want it to be. Theta is the height, and a row is the rotation, and move time is how long you want that specific move to last. And then at the end you can see it calls another function, LUA intro movie end. It calls this function at the end of the movie, which basically selects the Congo as its unit, and then it removes blackouts. So what are blackouts? Blackouts are whenever the screen goes black before or right after a movie. I'm going to show you that in action, but basically in order to be able to actually see the mission, you're going to need to at least have one blackout false command right here. Black bars is the old film effect. If you guys have old film effect enabled in the game options, then this is going to display during the movie. Black bars true enables it, and black bars false disables it. You don't need to have this, I just like to have it because it's a nice effect. Mission narratives. Now these are the text that appears at any point in the mission. I'm going to change this to just test to see you guys what they are. Once the mission calls this, it will just display that at the top of the screen, just like any objective. I'm going to show you this. Now LUA delay. LUA delay allows you to call a function with a delay. So in this case I'm calling LUA intro text, which is this function right here, which displays the test, which displays the text in this case. but with a 3-second delay. Whatever number is right after the comma right here, that is the delay, how many seconds it's gonna delay that text. So if you want to have it 10, it'll delay by 10 seconds. If you want to have it by 1, it'll be instantaneous, or almost instantaneous. If you want to have it to be completely instantaneous, all you're gonna do, you're gonna remove this, and you're just gonna go intro text parentheses. If you want to be instantaneous, like that. I'm gonna show you how to do that. I'm gonna show that in action actually during the mission. So now basically I'm gonna have a short movie focusing directly on the Congo. I'm gonna have it display test, and I'm gonna have the Congo selected again. So set selected unit, that command allows you to select when the game runs that command, it puts you in control of that specific unit, whatever unit you put there. So in this case we're gonna go find entity test, make sure that it's the exact naming of the entity as it is in the SCN. So in this case it's test, and it has to be in quotation marks. Now, a good way to check your spelling, if you're not sure, because if you mess up spelling, it'll ruin your entire code. Your spelling needs to be 100% on point. Is double click the type of the code that you're typing. If you're not sure if you just typed in find entity correctly, if you, as I said, if it turns green and these two turn green and these work, that means that you typed in correctly. So selected unit, I don't have any right now, so basically that's how it is. And a good example of mission phase, how it changes. Right here I'm setting mission phase equals to 1. I'm changing it to 1 whenever the intro is done. So the phase of the mission, when it's the phase 0 of the mission is the intro movie, and then I change it to phase 1 after the intro movie is done. One important point here, 1 equal sign is used when you're declaring a new value to it. 2 equal signs, which you see right here, are only used when you're checking if that value, if it's a certain value. Because instead of equals, you could have a greater than, which I'm checking right here. Basically, if the mission phase is less than 99, then do this. But right here, you might wonder why 2 equal signs. Well, because you could also have this if the mission phase is less than or greater than 1, and I'm going to go into more of that later. But the point is, if you're checking if something is exactly 1 value, and that value and nothing else, then you use 2 equal signs. Don't use 2 equal signs when you're making a variable something else, when you're making a new value. So right here, if I put 2 equal signs here, that would make the mission break. So just make sure that when you're declaring a new variable, it's 1. Now I'm making it 1 here, but what I also could do right here is I could go mission.mission phase equals the value of mission phase previously, which is 0, plus 1. So that I incremented by 1. That also works. That just adds 1 to it, so it doesn't make it 1 always. It increments it by whatever the value is. You could also do that, and in fact, I'm gonna leave that as it is. Sorry, plus 1. So it's been 0 previously because I declared a 0 here, and now later on, it's that plus 1, so it's 1 at the end. And then blackboard's false and blackout false basically means I'm gonna come out of the blackout and I'm gonna be able to see the mission. Now, let's finally get into the actual mission itself. Now we are properly set up. I believe our mission tree is set up properly as well. It's calling the correct SCN file, and the SCN itself is calling the correct, I believe. Now where is the, yeah, it's calling test right here. So this should work. Let's get straight into the mission. So basically you play the mission just like you would any other mission. You basically just get into the mission. I have it running in windowed mode. That's a really handy way of actually testing your programs. Run Battlestations Pacific in the windowed mode, because then you can, you know, tab out of it like this to be able to access your code right here and then exit out of it handily. You know, just a way easier way of actually modding the game. Anyways, let's go ahead and test our mission right away. Ours is test in front of Pearl Harbor, right here. Mission test, let's go straight into it. We can leave this as it is, but we'll change this later. And our Congo, we only have 1 Congo in the mission for now. This doesn't matter yet because we haven't set any specific properties for that, but all you're gonna do is just click that, and you can see our testing, our loading hints, our test L1, L3, and L2, just like we said in the mission tree. And then you press any key to continue, and then you just enter the mission. and you can hear the sound of the mission. And there is our beautiful Congo right here, and you can see the test text that shows up. This is the exact same weather and the exact same intro scene as is for the actual AUBA. And that's it for the mission. Now in the mission there's only the Congo and no one else. As you can see, the map is completely blank, and we have an error texture up there that's completely normal. We're going to be changing that soon. It's just a long Congo called the test sailing through the mission and nothing else. Well, that's pretty much it for that. So without further ado, let's show you guys some of the more advanced. Now, from now on, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be improving the mission drastically. Basically, trying to finish up with a completely functioning and polished mission. Right, so for now we have the actual mission basics down. We have the intro movie, and that's about it done. So now we have a single Congo class. So let's finish up what we said that we're gonna do in the missiontree.lua file, and we're gonna have exactly 3 Congos and 2 Mogamis at our disposal. So we're gonna be adding some more ships over here. If you saw the first modding tutorial, you already probably know how to do this. It is really easy. All I'm doing is just copying the entity card right here. I call these entity cards for the 3 battleships. I'm gonna have the Haruna, the Congo, and the Kirishima, making sure that they're all called appropriately. I'm also gonna be copying over the weather from the Cape Ngano mission from the US campaign. Just because I think that's actually nice weather, I'm gonna copy all of these properties. If you saw the first modding tutorial, you probably know how to really do this. So now I have 3 Congos, and I need to make sure they're not all spawning in the same exact spot, so they're not on top of each other when I spawn in. So make sure these are all a little bit apart. And now another thing that I'm going to introduce you people to, something that's going to be very useful to most of you, is tables, entity tables. So in the init, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new category. We're going to call it IJN for the Japanese forces on this mission, and I'm going to open a new table. So basically, what are tables? Let's start off with that. Tables is a collection of entities, and that's used to call all of those entities at the same time when you want to change them. So you can change them all at the same time, change any property that they have. I have these in the command helpers, and they're under the entity table section. And again, I'm just using this so I can show you guys how they work. This command opens a table with a given name. So let's call this table IJN. Let's make sure that it's mission. With tables and stuff like that, make sure you always do mission.IJN ships so that you can call it anywhere throughout the whole script. So now that means that the table is open. What you're gonna do, you're gonna indent by 1 right under the table, and you're gonna copy this next command right here, table insert. This command inserts an entity into the table. It starts off with the table name, so make sure you put in mission.IJN ship, mission.IJN ships, like that. And then you have to put in the actual entity. So go find entity Congo, like that. Find anything Congo, and double click on it, make sure that it has the correct spelling. Table inserted. Now we insert into the Congo. Now we're gonna insert the remaining 3 ships. If you wanna duplicate a line at any point, just go at the end of the line and click Control D. We're gonna do it 2 times, 1 for the Congo, 1 for the Karuna, and 1 for the Kirishima. Now we inserted all three of the Japanese ships from the SCN. Now they're in this table called mission.IJN ships. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply some properties to those ships. So what are we gonna specifically do? Exactly as I did in any of my CPC missions, complete campaign pack missions, we're gonna go and copy this line of code right here. And now for loops, it's another part of coding, and these are present in any coding language. In Lua, they're structured like this. And basically what this command tells the code to do is it's gonna run the following code for every single unit that's present in the table, or in this case it's IJN ships. So it's gonna run the code for every single ship that's present in IJN ships. It's gonna do the following. It's gonna join the formation of the specific unit in that table to the first unit in IJN ships. Whenever you call a table followed by a value between two square brackets, that means you're calling the first value in the table of the table that you're calling it. So in this case, the value that's at number 1, that's in the table as number 1, is the Congo. If we were to change this as number 2, all of the ships would join the Haruna as their leader, and if we change it to 3, they would join the Kirishima. So we're gonna go 1 and join it as the Congo. We're gonna set the skill level for every unit as mission for the variable mission.skill level own. What is skill level own, you ask? Let's find out. Control F up there. Oh, wait a second. Mission skill level own is set up there with the difficulty. This is what I alluded to previously when I went over this. All this basically does it creates a variable called mission.skill level. Skill level own is for your own ships, and skill level without own is for the enemy ships. Skill level own, basically depending on the difficulty, if the difficulty is 0, aka rookie, or if the difficulty is 1, aka regular, or if it's 2, aka veteran, it'll set these skills to the units. The friendly units at rookie it'll set elite, at regular it'll set veteran, and at veteran it'll set them to normal, and the opposite for the enemies. On rookie that'll be stun. Stun is basically rookie. 1 is they'll be normal, and at veteran difficulty they will all have veteran skills. That's basically how I did that. So I just use variables to declare all these. So I will be setting the skill level of that unit to whatever mission.skill level own is. And mission.skill level own, as we see right here, depends on the difficulty that we declared earlier. Navigator set avoid collision. That one makes the unit simply avoid trying to collide with terrain. If you set this to false, the unit will ignore terrain and try to sail through it. I see no point in having this as false. I just do this for all of my missions. Set avoid torpedo evasion basically means that when the ship is controlled by the AI, it'll try to avoid torpedoes. I usually have this set as true. This is where it gets quite interesting. If the mission, I say right here, if the mission difficulty is 0, aka rookie, I enable repair on all my ships. However, else if the difficulty is regular, or if the difficulty is veteran, then we will disable repair. That is the format that I use in all of my missions. You can enable repair, disable repair on the scripture to whatever philosophy you want. This is just how I personally use it. And you can copy these from my missions if you want to use this, that's fine. So now that we have set these characteristics for our 3 ships right here, we're gonna of course test this out, but alongside that I'm actually gonna add a few more ships to our fleet, and I'm gonna make sure that I have the correct facing values. I'm gonna open, oops, I didn't want to open that. I don't know why I have this second folder open. I'm gonna copy the facing values from a few ships. I want these Congos to be facing upwards. So again, as I said, experimentation, you're gonna go into another mission that you think has the correct value. So we're gonna think what mission has a ship that's facing upwards. Let's think here. The Illusions, in fact, yes, they do. When the fleet spawn in the Illusions, they will respawn facing upwards. So as shown in the first tutorial, you're gonna go open the Mutsu one, you're gonna go copy the facing values for the Mutsu, you're gonna go in the SCN and simply override these facing values. So these 4 battleships will all be spawned facing up, directly up. And yeah, I think we are good right here. I think I copied 1 value extra. Yeah, I copied 1 value extra by accident right here. There. I'm gonna remove all these zeros. That was my bad. That was completely my bad. And yeah, I think apart from that, these will all spawn in the middle of the map. Let's actually not make them spawn in the middle of the map. How big is our map? Let's see. Our map is 15,000. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it 10,000 total. So 5,000 in each direction. So we'll make the spawn at the bottom of the map at -45,000 or 4,500. Sorry, like that. There we go. These will be spawned all next to each other at the bottom of the map, and they will all be sailing at the start, which is completely fine by me, and they will all be in a single formation with the correct skill set applied to them. Anyways, apart from that, I'm also gonna add something else. Now, when making new missions, you're gonna need custom radar shots for that mission. So for this map, I'm just gonna have it blank ocean. So you're not gonna need to modify these, but I'm gonna show you basically how this works. Radar shots are located in Battlestation Pacific interface, textures, GUI, radar shots. And if you go to picture view, you can see them all. So for example, defending Midway, that's the Midway Island right here. That's the LMP one. But if you just want to copy a blank ocean one, just go to anyone that has a blank ocean, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna rename it to whatever your SCN name is, the scene file is. So in this case, it's test. So we're gonna just rename it to test.eds. Now we're gonna see what exactly this does in a second, but point is we have a blank ocean map right here. Now, of course, another thing to remember right here, since we changed the naming values for the Congo, it's no longer a test. You're gonna also have to change the names, the references right here. Now, of course, to this one, because we're calling. Let's actually change this from test. Let's go with somewhat generic, like somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, something like that, something generic. Just show you guys that this is actually interchangeable, and I believe we have not changed this to so we have to change the naming of the actual ship to Congo. So now the total list of changes, we have changed the weather, we have changed the position of the ships, we have given them some basic properties, and we have also changed the mission intro. So let's see what our changes have amounted to. Okay, so you can see the weather is different, and we have somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, something general, and we have our other Congo right there as well. And there we go, we are put into the mission finally. Now we have our 3 ships right here, and as you can see, they are in a formation. They are all following the middle ship, the Congo. We have our Kirishima and our Haruna. Now the map is smaller, as I said, and the weather is different. Of course, we can't really see that these ships have different properties, but they have, depending on the actual mission difficulty. That's it. These ships function as intended, of course, and now, of course, in the top right corner, sorry, it's no longer an error texture. We have a blank map of the ocean, so we have the appropriate map calling as well there. Anyways, let's move on from there now. You don't need to exit the game every single time when modifying missions. Every single time you modify mission, all you just have to just hit restart mission, like with the previous tutorial. We're gonna get a little bit fancy here. We're gonna be starting to add some hostile ships. So for the first objective right here, I'm basically designing a mission right here in case you guys can see, just so you guys can see. For the primary objective, let's put in sink the enemy destroyers, and for the complete objective, we're just gonna do all enemy destroyers have been sunk, something very generic. Okay, so we're gonna do that for the first objective. I'm not probably gonna use all objectives for this scenario, and for for the secondary, since we're gonna be adding some some Mogamis, we're gonna go ensure the survival of both of your cruisers. And for the fail objective, we're just gonna say one of your cruisers is sinking. And if you want to have a text completed text for the secondary objective, you can just copy the text completed line, but we don't really need to use one here since we're basically checking if one of our ships is alive for the mission, so we're just gonna leave this as blank. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna add the cruisers now, so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy the entry line from one of my cruisers from the Aleutian Islands. Actually, no, I'm just gonna copy one of the entries from the Congo right here. I'm just gonna change the class to a Mogami, so let's call this one a Mogami. This is gonna be the Mogami right here. Make sure everything is changed accordingly, and I'm gonna call the second one the Mikuma, which is of course a Mogami class. Make sure that the GUI name is different as well. I'm gonna move these a little bit forward to 405,000, just 4,000, and I'm gonna have this at 250 and negative 250 respectively, so they're right in front of the Congos but not quite. So very simple. How do we add these ships to a formation? Very simple, as we did with the Kirishimas. Just duplicate the sign twice and just add them in. Mogami, Mikuma. Now they're in the formation. Now they're gonna get called with this for loop as well. They're gonna be added to the formation and added their skills. Now let's get fancy. Why don't we? We're gonna be adding some hostile ships here and giving them some very basic commands. We're gonna be adding 3 Fletchers, 3 enemy Fletchers. I'm just gonna copy these 3. I usually like to leave spaces like that, so when you go fold all, you can see easily. Oh, these first few are the Japanese, and these next few are the Fletchers. I'm just gonna call them Fletcher 01, Fletcher 03, and Fletcher 02. I'm gonna give them GUI names from here. I'm gonna call this one the USS Fletcher. USS Fletcher. I'm just gonna copy this entire line. USS Fletcher. USS Patterson. Let's call this next one the USS Alwyn. I have no clue how to spell USS Alwyn. I'm just gonna spell it like that. It's probably wrong. Hey, who cares? We are scripting a fictional mission. Now, one other thing that you guys will find quite interesting with these American ships. With American ships, the American ships can have numberings on them. So I don't know if I have any numberings on here. No numberings over here. Let me open a universe folder real quick so I can find out if I have any specific numberings in here. I think I have some in Surigao Strait numbering. Yeah, so this is the line that you need to add specific numberings to American destroyers. I don't specifically know what the USS Fletcher. I mean, I'm assuming USS Fletcher was number 1, but I don't really know what the Patterson was. So I'm just gonna give them 1, 2, 3. I'll hopefully try to show you that in the mission in action. Now we're gonna want to have these 3 destroyers face down because they're gonna be attacking the Japanese head-on. That's what I want for my specific mission. So I need to think what mission has ships that are facing specifically down. Well, it's Surigao Strait, of course, because in my version of Surigao Strait, all of the American fleet is facing down at the beginning. So I'm just gonna simply copy the facing values for one of the American ships, and I'm gonna place them with the current facing values for the 3 Fletchers. Oh, sorry. Again, you can Control Z at any point to erase any error changes, and these guys are gonna be, I don't know, 2,000 meters. Of course, these are all in meters. Battleship uses meters as its internal distance measuring system, and they're gonna be slightly off to the side. Yeah, let's put them slightly off to the side. Negative 2,000 and negative 2,500, negative 1,500. So these are the 3 Fletchers that we're gonna have, and yeah, that's it. Now we're gonna create a new section right here for the United States Navy, or the other side, and we're gonna do the same thing as we did right here. We're gonna create a table with all of the American ships. So we're gonna call it US ships, make it simple on myself, and I'm just gonna copy the name of the 3 Fletchers over here. Make sure you can do Control D on the keyboard for duplicating lines, duplicate one too many, and add in the rest of these Fletchers. Now for the enemy ships, what I usually do, I don't do it the same as I did with the friendly ships. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to copy what I did for my other missions. I'm going to copy this for loop that I have right here, and I'm going to make sure that we have. If you hold Alt, by the way, this is something really nice with Notepad++ that I found out. If you hold Alt on the keyboard, you can vertically select. That's really handy, something that I found out. Anyways, make sure that we have the for loop correctly calling. So again, going through the entire for loop right here. This is what I call a for loop. For every unit in the US ships table, we're gonna be joining the formation with Fletcher class. You know what? For shits and giggles, let's change this to Fletcher class 02, just so you guys can see this in action. So we're gonna be joining formation with the second ship at the second index of the table, which is Fletcher class 02. We're gonna be setting the level to mission.skill level, not skill level owned, because skill level owned is for our own ships. We declare the variable here. So skill level, we're gonna be, of course, setting avoid land collision as true. And this is how we usually do it for enemy units. At rookie difficulty 0, mission.difficulty equals 0, I disable repair, disable torpedo evasion, and disable torpedoes as well. Torpedo enable is defines whether the ships are going to be able to fire torpedoes, especially destroyers, ships that have torpedoes on them, like destroyers. If it's regular, repair disabled, sorry, torpedo evasion enabled, and torpedoes enabled. And if it's on veteran, aka difficulty equals 2, everything is enabled. Repair, torpedo evasion, and torpedoes are enabled. So that's basically how I usually do it for enemy ships with all of my mission templates. Again, you guys can do it differently. This is just how I do it. Anyways, we have the enemy ships set up correctly. Now, I'm gonna expand a little bit here. I'm gonna get even more fancy, and I'm gonna order these Fletchers to attack our Congos. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new section of the init right here. I'm gonna call it initial. This is how I usually I'm just gonna call it initial functions. I usually have a section dedicated to just calling initial functions. Under the think, I'm gonna call this next section as US ships attacks. It's gonna be a section dedicated to specifically to attacking your ships. So here I'm gonna create a brand new function for you guys, so you guys can see how to do that. I'm gonna create a function specifically for making any ship, any group ship attack the Congo. So I'm gonna go function. Every single function has to have LUA in front of it. I'm not sure why, but it just has to. So I'm gonna call this function LUA make US ships attack. Quite a long name. And I'm gonna do 2 parentheses and then end at the end. All functions, make sure you have an end, so you have this line going from the beginning of the function to the end. Tab once, I usually like to have it all nice tab. I'm gonna change this to USDD's attack, just to make it more better for me. So I'm gonna call this function, but by going into initial function and going and typing in the name of the function, we want to make USDD's attack like that. Make sure you have double parentheses and make sure to double click, make sure the spelling is correct. Okay, so the new function that we made, the LUA make USDD's attack, all that we're gonna make this function do is we're gonna make the American destroyers attack the Japanese. How we're gonna do this is we're gonna go into our handy commands helper, and we're gonna go down to offensive commands and go down to vessels and copy this command right here, navigate your attack move. As can be seen from the description, this command makes a vessel aggressively move to attack its respective target entity. All that we're gonna do right here is we're gonna order the Fletchers to attack. So I'm gonna take the leader of the formation, which is Fletcher class 02. So an easy way you can do this is by copying the name of the table that the Fletcher is in and calling whatever index value the Fletcher is at. So in this case, we're going to be calling number 2. We're going to be calling the second ship in the table Fletcher class 02 because that is the leader of the formation. So the rest of the ships are going to follow it, as said by this command right here. And entity reference, we're going to make it reference the Congo. So find entity Congo. And again, double clicking everything, making sure that everything is correct. And we are going to call this function right here. So we're going to be seeing these ships, these 3 Fletchers, we're going to be seeing them attacking the, I don't know why I have this folder open. We're going to be seeing these 3 Fletchers attacking these. So basically we're going to just go ahead and quickly restart the mission. And there we go, and they're already firing, so it looks like they're close. Yeah, so it looks like these Fletchers are close. There they are. Okay, so we have our 3 ships, the USS Patterson, the USS Fletcher, and the USS Alwyn, and our 2 new heavy cruisers, the Mikuma, and you can see they automatically joined the formation. So now we can make them move there. I have actually disabled music for this mission. It's not working, it's just not there. I'll enable it. Actually, you know what? I'll enable it right now. Just so you guys can hear that there's music. There you go, and it's the action music. Appropriately. I'm gonna lower the volume just a bit, it's really loud. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a start of our mission right here. Now these 3 Fletchers will attack them. They'll get destroyed, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, looks like that's a Clemson by accident. That's not a Fletcher right there. I guess I forgot to check that. Whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So now let's get even more fancy. And I'm gonna add another function, and I'm gonna create yeah, I'm gonna create a new category. I'll just call the phase 1 of the mission. I'm gonna have 2 phases, probably just 1 actually. Phase 1, I'm gonna add a new function called LUA add first objectives. I'm just gonna call OBJs. There, I have a second function, and in that function I will add some objectives. So I have already set up our first objective right here. Primary objective number 1, it'll be sink all enemy destroyers. And if you go to add command helpers, I have a few commands to add new objectives, specifically this one right here, LUA objective add, and this one will add our objective. So this is how it's used. You make sure that the objective type says primary, because we're going to be adding our primary objective. We have primary, secondary, hidden objectives. Objective number is going to be 1, because we're going to be adding the first objective right here. And then the entity reference, or the entity table, these are the entities that are going to be highlighted on the map and in game for us to be able to distinguish what ships we're actually targeting. So in this case, I'm just going to say mission US ships, because we're going to be targeting the destroyers of the ships. But not only will we be adding that, because we're also going to be adding a function, or not really a function, we're just going to be adding code to the constantly running think function that checks if the objective is completed. Basically, all I'm going to add here is I'm going to add an if statement saying if. I'm just going to preemptively just drop an end down there as well, because you know you always need to have an end to an if statement. Now, you may be asking yourself, what way can we check if all of these destroyers are dead? Now we need to find a method to check if all of these destroyers are dead. So there is a command for that, and it's under the entity table section. It's called the table.getNumber, get n, and basically table.getN is a function, is an internal function that gives back the number of entities that's present in the table. So we're gonna go if the number of entities in mission.us ships is equal to 0, then here we're gonna add our objective completed function. Then there's a command for objective completed right here. Then objective completed, we're gonna complete our objective right here, primary 1, because we're completing primary objective number 1. And true or false, true means that it's gonna play the objective completed victory music at the end, and it's gonna show the objective completed text. False basically means it's gonna do all of that silently, so no victory music, no text. We're gonna have it true because we want to hear that sweet music and that sweet text of victory. Anyways, so that basically says right here, if mission.us ships ever reaches 0, we will be completing the objective. However, we also want this only to be running if the objective itself is active. So there is also a command for that. I'm just basically showing you as many commands as I can, and for this we're gonna need to go over here because I forgot to add that one. As you can see, we have a lot of commands to go to, and there's a command for that. It's called if objective LUA objective is active. This basically just checks if a certain objective is active. We're gonna go, remember, for each if statement you need to have an end statement, so an easy way to check that, if you go X right here, it's gonna fold up perfectly, and if you don't have the end, it's gonna start folding up like all the rest of the code. So make sure it's all nice and visible. If primary 1, let's just make sure that's saying primary 1. So basically this says if the primary 1 objective is active, then we're gonna check for this, this, and this. And once we complete it over here, it won't be active. So this won't be going in and checking every single time after we complete it. One last thing we're forgetting. We actually need to remove dead entities from a table, because in order to get to 0, these entities need to die. So we need to go LUA remove. We need to copy this command right here. It's in the command helper. It's called LUA remove deaths from table. just copy it right after the parentheses, right before the table name itself. Just copy that, make sure there's a parentheses at the end, and then add yet another parentheses over here, so they have the correct number of parentheses. So if this basically says if the mission phase is 1, which it is because after we finish the intro movie we increment it by 1. If the primary objective 1 is active, which it is because we're adding it first objective, we just need to make sure that we call it. I'm gonna add it at the end of our intro movie right here. There you go, so you'll see it added, so you'll see the text pop up right after the intro movie finishes. So now we're calling it at the end, and this will add the actual objective. And if the objective is active, which it is, then if the table of entities of US ships, once we remove the deaths from it, reaches 0, then we have completed the objective. You can also insert something else in here, like the objective completed, and we can change the mission phase. For example, mission phase equals 2, so we change it to the second mission phase. Anyways, we'll get more fancy after that, but let's test the mission as it is right now. After we're done, we can hear the music right away. We can see the Congos firing right away, and if we skip the intro, oh, there's the objective, and you can see they're highlighted. The 3 destroyers, they're highlighted, and if we go pause, it'll say sink the enemy destroyers. Let's go sync them real quick. Now, I'm not really sure if I have the dev input commands over here. No, I don't. I'll show you these later on. They're really nifty, like hack commands that lets you like skip through missions faster. But right now, I'm just actually gonna kill these destroyers myself manually. And there we go. And you can see the victory objective pops up saying that we have sunk all the enemy destroyers. And of course nothing happens past this point because we haven't really told the script to do anything else after this. But we're gonna make it do something even more fancy. Something really cool that we can do after this. I'm actually gonna create a new section right here. Just call it, you know, phase 2. And I'm gonna create a new function there. I'm just gonna call it LUA move to phase 2. Nothing special. I usually do something like that during my mission, so I'm instead gonna replace the mission phase.2 with this. I'm gonna remove that, and I'm gonna say if mission phase equals 1, then we're gonna change the mission phase. So this is run only once. So I complete the objective here and then move on to the next phase. We're not gonna have a mission phase 3 because after this we're gonna complete the mission. So we're gonna have only 2 mission phases. I really like it structuring it like that because it's simple for me. And we're gonna do something really fancy right here. We're gonna add some aircraft carriers. I'm just gonna add 1 and a few escorting ships for it. Now, if you watched my previous video, you'll know that it's sometimes complicated to add aircraft carriers. I'm gonna add an escort one. I'm gonna just copy one of the carriers from my Aleutian Islands map. The Nassau, I'm just gonna call it the... Well, let's leave it as the Nassau actually. Let's just call it the Bogue, because it's the Bogue class aircraft carrier. And we're gonna leave it as hidden. I'm gonna show you, in fact, guys, how to make hidden ships appear out of the blue. How to basically generate objects halfway through the map, which is something I promised I'd do during the first tutorial, and now I'll show you how to do. I'll put this one on the center of the map, just because, you know, why not. I'll also copy the facing values for it, even though I already think they have the same facing values. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they do. Wait, do they? Oh yeah, no, they do. Yeah, never mind. So these are both facing down already, so we don't need to change the facing values. I'm gonna add a few escorts to it. I'm gonna copy these 2 Fletchers. I'm gonna add an Atlanta and a Northampton. Why not? I'm just gonna call this the Northampton and call this one the Atlanta. Make sure that the templates are all in order. Atlanta class. I'm gonna call this one the USS Chicago, and I'm gonna call this one the USS San Juan. Don't know what the numberings for these 2 are historically, so I'm just gonna go 10 and 11. Again, forgive me for that, but I have no clue what these are, what the numbers are. And I'm also gonna add numberings for the aircraft carrier. Why not? Why not? Anyways, I'm gonna copy the exact facing values for that one. I'm gonna go with again 500, and then negative 500. This is getting into like the complicated territory. Wait, I think oh no, I did the wrong line. It's supposed to be this one right here. 500 and negative 500. And there we go. Now these two cruisers are gonna be around the Bogue class. I'm just gonna call it the USS Bogue as well. USS Bogue. There we go. Now we have these 3 new enemy ships added, and I'm gonna add another primary objective. I'm just gonna call it sink the enemy aircraft carrier. Sink the enemy aircraft carrier. I'm just gonna add nothing here. I'm just gonna leave it blank here. See why? I don't need the third. I'm gonna remove the third objective. If you ever need some extra, just copy the previous one and make sure make sure they don't have the same number. So if you want the third one and you didn't have it, just copy this one. Make sure it says 3, and then so on. If you want a fourth, just make sure it has 4 right here. Make sure we don't have any repeating objectives. And so for the second one, I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, we have to ensure the survival of both of your cruises already. And for the hidden one, I'm just gonna say sink both of the enemy cruisers. This is not gonna be visible, of course, because we need to actually add it and all that. But I'm actually gonna go and add the secondary objective that we previously had. I'm going kind of all over the place right now, but hopefully it's not too confusing for you guys. So I'm just gonna really quickly do the same thing I did for the secondary objective, for the primary objective. I'm just gonna make sure that I have the correct spelling, and I'm gonna create a new table right here. Actually, with just the cruisers. I'm gonna copy the IGN ships one. I'm gonna call it IGN cruisers. I'm gonna have it as a Mogami. Oh, sorry. Mogami, and the second one as a Mikuma. So this is gonna be able with just the cruisers, and we're gonna be able to add that to make sure that we are pointing to just the cruisers. Anyways, that's our secondary objective. Now that we're gonna be adding that in the function LUA add first OBJs alongside our primary objective, and let's go ahead and generate some entities now. So how to generate entities is in the command helper, as a lot of these beautiful functions are. It's this command right here, generate object. However, you need to call it by declaring it. So you need to do this for every single time you wanna generate an object. So you're gonna declare it. So you're gonna go mission Bogue equals generate object Bogue. I'm not sure how to explain that. You can do this for any unit, by the way. If you want to declare the Congo previously, you can do that as well. So make sure that we are Northampton and then Atlanta. Let me just make sure that I have the correct spelling. And then Atlanta. This is taking a while, but not that long. And there we go. Now we just need to make sure that we add them all to a table and do the same thing that we did as with our previous ships. We don't want any inconsistencies. Just like that. And we're gonna call this table US CV Fleet, just because they need to have a name. And they're gonna be in a formation, of course, and having all the necessary skills applied to them. We're gonna have them both join the Bogue, so they're gonna be following the Bogue around. And another thing that I'm going to show right here, I'm actually going to have the Bogue try to run away from the Japanese fleet. I'm going to add a nav point, and I'm going to have the Bogue go to a nav point. So what is a nav point? I already went over this in my previous tutorial. Nav point is just any navigational point on a map. I already went over the nav points in the first tutorial, so I'm just going to add one. I'm just going to call it Bogue go to. Nav point, I'm gonna set it to neutral. I don't know why I had it set to allied right here. They should be all set to neutral. Just make sure. Yeah, okay, neutral. Perfect. I'm gonna call it Bogue go to. I'm gonna declare it as a variable up here under values and variables. I'm just gonna put it here. I'm just gonna say mission Bogue go to equals find entity bogue go to. You can do this with any other entity. If you, for example, wanted to declare the Congo as a variable, you can go mission Congo equals find entity Congo, and then you can replace all of the reference to the Congo with simply mission.congo. So you'll see, I'll prove to this that this works. I'm gonna replace all the references to the Congo with simply just the mission Congo, because they're all referencing the same entity. I'm just using a variable to reference it. There, I'm trying to teach you as many things as I can in this short of a tutorial. There you go. A very simple way of assigning variables. Anyway, so we're calling mission.move to phase 2. I forgot to call it. I should call it that. Yeah, that's right. Better make sure we have function names. Move to phase 2, and we're calling it. And basically here we're generating the fleet. We're putting it into a table, and we're giving it a bunch of we're giving it a bunch of properties, and we're gonna be having it move to mission.bogue go to, which is the bogue go to and nav point. I'm gonna go over to move commands in our handy commands helper, and I'm gonna use this command here, navigator move to position, and I'm gonna have the bogue move to. I'm gonna have the mission.bogue. You can also do find entity bogue. You can do mission.bogue. Gonna have you go to mission.bogue go to, just like that. And what this is basically gonna make the bogue do is just gonna try to make it run away. And let's actually make sure that he's running away, but by making the actual nav point to be up on the map. So it's gonna be in the center horizontally, but up vertically, so it's moving up as far as it can go. So it's gonna be trying to run away. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm gonna add a new movie. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna add a new movie. I'm just gonna copy the intro movie so we can actually no, I don't think I'm gonna add a new movie. And yeah, there's no need to here, honestly. This is a quite a simple mission right here that I have. I'm just gonna probably just show you dialogues after that too, but anyways, now let's make sure that we have our objective added. So at the end right here, we're gonna make it move to the position, and at the end I'm just gonna go ahead and add the last objective, primary 2, and I'm gonna go with a mission.bogue, so we need to sync the bogue. And then in the think, which is the function that's being ran constantly, I'm gonna go ahead and do if mission.bogue.dead, then this basically checks if the bogue is dead. If any entity .dead, if you put .dead, that makes the statement refer to the entity as dead. So if the bogue is dead, then we're gonna copy this. Just for quickness sakes, we're gonna complete objective number 2, which is to sink the enemy aircraft carrier 1. And another thing, if you remember, we added a secondary objective, which is to keep both of our heavy cruisers alive. We also need to make sure that that one works as well. So we're gonna copy this line right here, basically saying if our secondary objective is active, then if our new table that we made, which is IGN cruisers, if IGN cruisers is at any point 1, meaning that we lost one of our cruisers, then we're gonna fail the objective, and there's a command for that. In right here, LUA objective failed. Same use as LUA objective completed. LUA objective failed, primary, or we're gonna have it to secondary 1. True basically means it's playing the failing music and showing the objective failed. Okay, so now that we have that, I don't need this. I don't need to call any other function. And now basically what's gonna happen is if a mission phase is less than 99, so that means that it's checking the whatever this, it's executing the code inside regardless of whether the mission phase is 1 or 2. So it's always executing it, and it's not only executing it when the mission phase is 1 or 2. So it's basically just saying if the secondary objective is active, and if one of the cruisers dies, then we fail the objective. And yeah, that's basically it. Very simple stuff. And then if the bogue is dead, then we complete the objective, and I'm going to create a final function, and I'm just going to add it into phase 2, which completes the mission if we sync the bogue. So I'm gonna call it LUA mission completed. LUA mission completed, and there's a command to complete a mission. In fact, it's in the command helpers, and it is let's see, I put it in here somewhere. There you go. Mission enters, LUA mission completed new. And it basically just completes a mission, and whatever entity you put right here, it'll display that, and it'll like go around the camera, it'll pan around the camera with that entity as it's you'll see, you know how a camera normally pans around the entity at the vector screen. So I'm just gonna make it pan around the bogue as it's syncing, which is usually what missions do. If you leave this empty, if you just put nil means nothing, then it will just stay there whatever it is at whatever unit you had it last. And I'm just gonna say enemy carrier is syncing mission complete. So it's gonna display that text when the mission is completed. And I'm gonna add one more final function for when you lose the mission, basically saying that if at any point during the mission, if your IGN ships, if you lose all your ships, if IGN ships reaches 0, then you're gonna fail the mission. I'm gonna create a new function. I'm gonna copy that one right here, LUA mission failed. Make sure that it's being called appropriately. Or no, not this one, sorry. Not that one. Oh yeah, no, actually yeah, it's in that one. I'm just gonna remove that one. So if you lose all your ships, you're gonna call LUA mission failed, which will fail the mission. Hopefully you're understanding how all of these functions work. Mission failed. And I'm gonna go. So yeah, let's pan into the bogue actually. No, actually, I'm gonna teach you guys how to pick random entities. I have not added this to the command helper yet. I will hopefully when this mission is, when this tutorial is out. But there is a way of picking random entities from a table. It's called LUA pick random or LUA pick RND. So I'm gonna instead here declare a local variable. Show you how that works. I'm just gonna call it TRG for target. Local TRG LUA pick round, which basically picks a random entity from a table, and we're gonna go with yeah, let's just go US ships. So, and I'm gonna have it referred to right here. So it's gonna pan around TRG, and TRG, as you can see right here, is a randomly picked entity from a table that had dead removed from it, which is US ships, mission.US ships. So it's gonna pan around a random US ship which is not dead. Random ship in the US ships table which is not dead. And I'm gonna just change this to game over. And there we go, we are pretty much done now. Let's just make sure that we are actually calling LUA mission completed new when we actually sync the enemy carrier. There we go, and we should be good. Yeah, let's launch our mission right now. Make sure that it works. Just really quickly reset our mission. So hopefully now you can see how all this is starting to slowly but surely come together. So here we are firing to sink the enemy destroyers. Oh, and of course I forgot to set these guys to hidden. Good thing I caught myself, because if I hadn't set them to hidden and I tried to generate them from the script, the mission would crash. Good thing I caught that, good thing I caught that. You see, these things are easy to forget, you just gotta make sure. So make sure that whatever unit you're trying to generate from the mission script is hidden. Is set as hidden. There we go. Oh, and also, just to make sure, for some reason, make sure you pre-cache them. As I said, when you pre-cache units, when you try to generate them in-game after a while, make sure you pre-cache them. So we're gonna pre-cache all of those units right here. So we're gonna have the Vogue, which is 24, class 24, and we're gonna have the Northampton, which is class 19, and the Atlanta, which is class 17. Just for safe measures, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Better to have them pre-cached at the start. Northampton. You don't need to add these comments, but I just do so because I can easily track what ships I'm actually when I'm actually pre-generating. And now another thing that I quickly forgot to mention is I forgot to actually add these these to the table. I still have the old Fletchers because I copied it from the Fletcher table. Make sure you avoid mistakes like that, because these are gonna catch you all the time. This is almost dead. And there he goes. And now, in front of us, here spawns the enemy Bogue fleet. No, the one that we've been waiting for so long. Anyways, it's escorted by USS Chicago and USS San Juan, and of course the ships that we have assigned it to be escorted by. And as you can see, it's turning around and it's trying to get away from us as fast as it can, but it's unfortunately not going to be fast enough, and we're going to be killing it as soon as possible alongside all of its escorts. And there we go. The bow should be done in the next volley of fire. And there it is sinking. And there we go. The mission has been completed. As I said, the panning of the camera, this is exactly what I mean. And you just click enter and you're on to the mission. And it should bring you to the vector screen that should say test, as we previously declared with our mission tree, and you see test, everything really is this, and that's pretty much it. Now we have actually made it full circle. We have made our mission, and you can make your mission more complex, more simple, anything you want. And I'm going to show you one more thing before I sign off with this tutorial, and that is how to make the Bogue actually launch aircraft at you. It is actually one command, and I'm gonna add it right here, in fact. And one thing that I quickly forgot to mention, whenever you complete a mission, so when you have your mission complete new and mission failed, you're gonna want to add this line right here, mission.end mission equals true. It is all that this does is not run any further code after this mission ends. And if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, right here at the start of the think, if you open this if end mission is true and then return, you'll know what this means if you're a coder. If you don't know, you don't need to know. The point is, it just whenever you have a mission complete or mission failed, then you make sure you have that. That's all you need to know. Anyways, I'm gonna show one more thing, and that is for the Bogue to launch aircraft at you. It's a command that needs to be constantly ran, so you're gonna be putting it into the think, and of course it's in the command helpers. It's gonna be under offensive commands, and it's gonna be LUA manager and the best. This one was quite a struggle for me to use. I didn't really understand how to use it at the start, but basically, for any constantly running command that's being ran for a specific ship, you're gonna need to do this. If mission.bogue, which is the unit that we're going to be running for, and not mission.bogue.dead, you're going to need to add those lines around the actual attacking line, because any command that's being constantly ran means that even if you're running this without these, so let's say you were going to comment these out or remove these, you're going to be running this LUA Airfield Manager for the Bogue constantly, even if the Bogue is dead. And if the Bogue dies, it's still going to be trying to run this command right here, because it didn't specify to only run it when the Bogue is alive. And then it's going to try to run the command, the engine is going to try to find the Bogue, but it's dead, and that's going to result in a game crash. So you got to make sure you have this not only for LUA Airfield Manager, but for any command that's running constantly, like in the think or something like that. So we're going to have the mission Bogue launch now fighter class ID. So this is something that I'm gonna need to copy from a different script. For a command like this, you're gonna need to do something along the lines of that. So let me just pull up my script for my let's see which mission did I use it for. I believe I used it for Illusions. There we go. You're gonna need to add these lines right here. So I'm gonna remove most of these. I'm not gonna use 90% of these. So basically all we have here is you're listing what types of planes you want the Bogue to use. The first line right here is the ID of the fighters that the Bogue will use. So LUA Airfield Manager basically works like this. The Bogue will have LUA Airfield Manager causes an airbase or an aircraft carrier to have one squadron of combat air patrol fighters, and it's gonna attack whatever you specify to attack with whatever bomber you specify to attack. So at least one combat air patrol squadron, and the rest are just bombers that are attacking the target that you set for it. So I'm gonna set a bunch of fighters for it and a bunch of bombers to it. You can do it like this. This is the way I usually do it, the most simple way to do it. I'm just gonna call this fighters, and I'm just gonna call this bombers. I'm basically setting local variables to a bunch of letters and numbers. So this again is the entry numbers for the class. You can find this in global.enum. So for the bog, I'm gonna make Hellcats be its cap. Hellcat, which is the 26. I'm gonna have him have Hellcats, which is number 26, and I'm gonna have Bow attack the enemy fleet with the Dauntlesses. Actually, no, I'm gonna have an attack with the Avengers and Helldivers. So, Helldiver, 38. Helldiver and Avenger, which is 113. So it's gonna attack the enemy fleet with the fighters, which is the Hellcat. It's not gonna attack it with the fighters. You're gonna have that for combat patrol, and it's gonna attack the enemies with the bombers. And entity table is the target entities that you want them to attack. So in this case, it's gonna be mission.ij and ships, because we want them to attack this group of ships right here. Travel altitude, you don't need to specify this. If you at any point you don't want a specific parameter to be inserted, you can replace it with nil. Nil means nothing, and it's just gonna give it nothing. And number of planes in squadron, we're gonna have it set to 5, so it's gonna have 5 planes per attacking squadron. Okay, so another thing that I completely forgot to mention is that whenever you spawn new aircraft from, especially from Lua Airfield Manager and such commands that I'm going to be using to show you right now, make sure you actually pre-cache those units as well, as I can show you right now. I'm pre-caching the XFs, the Hellcat, the Helldiver, and the Avengers, which are all going to be spawned from the Bogue. Make sure you do that, because if you don't, they will all fail to spawn. Anyways, let's run through the version one more time, and then the final thing I will show you is how to add a new mission photo, and that will be it for this tutorial then. And as you can see right here, I'm going to use my speed hacks a little bit to get us through the mission faster. But as you can see, they're being launched, planes are being launched. We have some Hellcats flying up now for the combat air patrol, and that is how you can get some AI carrier action going on. We should be starting to see some bombers very soon as well. After this last Hellcat, I'm assuming lots of Hellcats. And there we go, Avengers coming in for the action. It is unfortunately not gonna be enough, and we are going to probably stomp them with our force. They should not have messed with us. Let's finish on the Bogue. And there you go. And the mission is over. Yeah, that is pretty much it. Now the only thing that's left for me to show you guys for this specific tutorial is I will also show you how to add a new mission photo. So we don't want that ugly Pearl Harbor photo, do we? So I'm gonna import some test photos, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to actually get them into the game. Okay, so now I'm just quickly gonna show you how to import new photos for your new missions that you're gonna be importing to Battlestation Pacific. It is not really different for the process how to import photos for like units and stuff like that, but I'm gonna get into that more with later tutorials. Anyways, I'm gonna show you how to do it in Photoshop. I'm assuming the process is not that much different for other programs like GIMP or something like that, but I never really used any other program for editing photos. I mostly use Photoshop. Anyways, I have opened here a test picture, just a random picture I took it off the internet. I searched up Congo class because we had the Congo class in the mission, and here I have one of my previously done mission photos for one of my complete campaign pack missions. That's the Coral Sea one, so I'm going to be using that one as an example right here. So first things first, you're gonna have to open a picture, an already existing picture from the game. And these pictures, they are located in the Battlestation Pacific, and then the interface folder, then textures, FE, and then missions. I suggest one of my complete campaign pack missions. USN 19.dds is the one that I'm using right now. Of course, all textures for Battlestation Pacific, they are strictly in DDS format, but we will get more into the textures when we get into future tutorials. First thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to go up to image here and then to image size if you're on Photoshop, and have the window on the other monitor right here. But you're gonna note the size right here. Now you could use something like the snipping tool. I know Windows 10 has a really handy snipping tool that you could just take a snippet of the screen and then pull it up on a separate screen right here, and so you can have this noted. So sorry about that closed. So in this case it is 444 by 256 pixels. You're gonna note that, and all you're simply gonna do right now, you're gonna remember that sizing. I just put it on a different monitor for myself, and you're gonna have to get this picture to that exact same scaling somehow. Now this is not really a scale picture as the previous one, so you're gonna have to crop it a bit. It is the key C for Photoshop on the keyboard. So I was thinking maybe just part of the picture like that. I'm just gonna make sure they are the correct dimensions. So we're gonna mess with the dimensions a little bit. It may look a little bit off in the end, but that's nothing too dramatic for us. I think something like that, maybe. Yeah, let's do something like that. Something like that may be good. Again, this is just the same picture. You can do that wherever you want. So we gotta get it roughly to the same. Roughly, it doesn't have to be exact. It probably won't be exact. Roughly to the same dimension, and then you're gonna go to image size and scale it to exactly 444 by 256. Again, it may look a little bit off and it'll look pixelated, but that's how you gotta do it. And you're gonna go save as, and you're gonna go to whatever your Battlestation Pacific folder is. You're gonna go to interface, textures, FE, missions, and here make sure you're gonna save it as DDS file. You're gonna, if you don't have the DDS plugin for Photoshop, you better get that because we're gonna be using that a lot. You can call it anything you want. I'm just gonna call it test.dds. You can save it. If you're using the plugin, make sure you click no maps. And yeah, this is basically it. It is a really simple process. I'm gonna show you how to actually apply the texture. All you have to do is go into mission tree and know where says the picture entry. Just go text. Even though it is in DDS format, make sure your texture refers to it as a TGA. It has to refer to it as a TGA. And let's real quick go into the game real quick, and I will show you that the photo actually works. And we are in the game, and let's check out the sick photo that we have. And as you can see right here, our mission photo is changed. Right, so as I promised, I will also be creating a section of the video to those people who want to modify the vanilla game. Of course, it'll be different for those people because all of the content is not available in the root directory or the Battlestation Pacific folder. Instead, they are all packed up into the so-called MPAK files, and you will not be able to modify them unless you pack those MPAK files and unpack them. Anyways, all I will show you right here is where those files are, which I mentioned throughout the video, so you guys know where they are. And of course, all you're gonna need to do is to simply unpack them one by one and then pack them back up when all of your modifying is done. Anyways, we're gonna start off by opening your BSP Ripper right here and going into your vanilla instance of the game. I have mine open right here in this window and over here. First of all, we're gonna need to go to missiontree.lua, and that one is located in this file right here. It's gonna be in MPAK global, and then GV main menu. As you can see, it's right here. Script data tables missiontree.lua. What you're gonna do is go select all and then extract selected files. Then the Ripper is going to go ahead and really quickly extract all of these files, so you guys will be able to take a look at them. Afterwards, I may as well just show you how all of the mission MPAKs are structured. So you're going to go into MPAK and then scenes. That's where all the mission MPAKs are. And in case you didn't already notice, some of you may have modded a Battlestations Midway before, and in that one, all of the files are neatly packed up into one MPAK. Unfortunately, that is not the case for Battlestations Pacific, where each mission has up to 6 MPAKs, I believe, and I will show you what all of these are. Well, our MPAK that we previously started unpacking has finished unpacking. All you're gonna go ahead and do is open folder right here, and as you can see, they're all unpacked right here, and you can access by going to scripts, data tables, and then open it up. It is a missiontree.lua, and you can open it right here, and then go ahead and modify whatever you want to modify. right here. And after you're done, all you're gonna do is go select MPAK folder, select this folder right here, and click on this button right here, Pack New MPAK. Make sure you have this top button selected right here. Make sure you don't have this checked right here. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna hit open folder right here. You're gonna take your newly created MPAK right here. This is something that I've been working on personally. You're gonna drag it from here, place it in your game instance, and then you get it work. Will work with these new changes, of course. So that is how you basically the process of it. So let me show you the remaining files of the game. So as I said, all of the mission MPAKs themselves, they are unpacked. There are multiple of them. So you can see they go IJN01. You have IJN01 for example, then you have IJN01 and then MPAK 0. If you actually search IJN01 right here, it may take a while for them all to be found. But as you can see right here, they're slowly finding them. We have 0 IGN MPAK, 1 IGN01, 2 IGN01, 3 IGN01, and all the way up to 6 IGN01. So I'm gonna go straight through here showing you what all of these are. So let's start off with IGN01. IGN01 contains the scene file. So if you ever want to modify the scene file, that's gonna be right there. You're gonna go ahead and go to extract, select the files, and then open folder. Followed by, I'm actually not gonna go extract them every single time. We have IGN1 IGN01, which contains a bunch of effects. You generally don't need to modify this, but this one also has the SCN file. So every single time you modify the SCN file, make sure you modify it here as well. So that's one IJN01 taken care of. And now we're gonna go to 2 IJN01, which contains also more effects, but also all of the model files for like the structures. For this one, for example, has a lot of the structures for the buildings and stuff like that, and has more script files, not as many as the previous ones, but if you want you can explore more of these on your own. I'm just telling you what basically these are. And then I believe that 3 IJN01 should contain the script file. Yeah, so it's right here, 3 IJN01. That is probably going to be our most important part right here. 3 IJN01 contains the actual script file of the mission, the LUA file right here. So we're going to be modifying it right here. And just to show you, just for completeness sake, I'm going to show you what all of the remaining 4 MPAK files include. 4 IJN01 is usually blank. They contain Seagull stuff. As you can see, they're mostly blank for all of them. 5 IJN01 is likewise the same. It just has caustics. You don't generally need to modify 5 MPAK 5s. And then IJN06, I can't exactly remember what they contain. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like just more caustics. So point is, the ones that you're gonna mostly modify are MPAK 0, MPAK 1, MPAK 2, and MPAK 3. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So again, after you're done, just go select the MPAK folder right here. You're gonna select it from this list. It'll appear here, and then just go pack new MPAK and make sure the settings are like that. Go to open folder and simply replace the new MPAK with your pre-existing one, and then run the game, and that should be it. Anyways, I can understand why people would mod vanilla. For some people it is more organized. I thought that at the beginning as well, but I just simply prefer that everything be extracted and all that. So anyways, that is how you mod the vanilla game. Now that concludes our second modding tutorial, the advanced modding tutorial. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I know that this probably was very confusing for most of you, because most of you don't really have any coding experience, and you will struggle in the beginning quite a lot. Well, you know, that is in some ways good, because it teaches you, how to approach problems, and in a way that's really gonna benefit you, especially later in life if you want to pursue like a coding career or something like that. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I will be working on some more future modding tutorials in the future, especially the next one, which is the basic unit modifications tutorial. But what I'm actually expecting to happen is a lot of people to have problems with mission modding, and this is a very popular area. A lot of people want to mod missions, so I may do like a Q&A video later on, or part 2 maybe even, to the modding tutorial, because there's just so much I haven't been able to cover. This is probably going to be like a 2.5-hour video from my predictions right now, and I have barely scratched the surface of what mission scripting is. I have created an extremely basic mission right there, and I have not even gone over 95% of the commands right here. I will be updating the commands helper I have created, and I'll also be updating the mission template that I have created. So later on, you guys can start making some very basic missions. I don't recommend doing anything advanced so far, but of course you can email me, you can comment down below in the description. So I'll do my best to help you guys out. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something, and have a good one.